Alozan, the champagne flute was still cool against my palm when the ring of my phone fractured the quietest moment I'd had in 30 years. On the line was my son, his voice thick with the special kind of arrogance that comes from a life devoid of real effort. 24 hours later, I was standing in the foyer of my own home, watching a horde of strangers drag sand across my Italian marble, as if they held the deed. If you're tuned in, hit subscribe and tell me where you're from. Let's rewind to the beginning of this glorious disaster. 3 months prior, I sold Sterling Marketing Solutions, the firm I had built from the ground up over 3 decades. The buyers wired me $8 million. After the government took its share, I had more than enough to finally make my move. Sozined, buy the beach house I'd always dreamed of and vanish from the corporate grind for good. The house was the physical manifestation of every fantasy that had gotten me through those grueling 18-hour workdays. It was 6,000 square feet of sea, worn cedar and sweeping glass, perched right on the Outer Banks dunes. It offered endless ocean vistas and enough room to finally host my extended family for all the holidays I'd been too swamped to celebrate for decades. I had been there for exactly 8 hours when Brandon called. There was no, "Congrats on retiring, Mom," or "The new place looks incredible." He cut straight to the chase. "Mom, you'll need to move into the guest room upstairs. Melissa's entire family is flying in tomorrow for a 2-week vacation. Her parents, her sister's family, plus her brother and his girlfriend, 11 of them in total." I actually let out a laugh. "Brandon, sweetheart, this is my home. If you all want to visit, we can figure out some dates that work." "No, you're not getting it. We've already booked their tickets. They're planning on the master suite and the main guest rooms. The upstairs room has a great ocean view. You'll be fine." The casual presumption that I would simply roll over left me momentarily stunned. This was the son I'd financed through business school, Alozan. The son whose 2 failed restaurants I'd bailed out. The son whose mortgage I'd helped cover when his design firm was on the brink of collapse. "Brandon, I bought this place to unwind and finally enjoy my life. I'm not operating a bed and breakfast for Melissa's relatives." His voice turned icy, a chilling echo of his father's tone during our divorce. "Look, Mom, you have this enormous house all to yourself. That's just selfish. If you can't be reasonable about sharing, well, I hear there's a lovely assisted living facility just down the highway." The threat lingered in the air, acrid as smoke. My 35-year-old son was giving me an ultimatum: accommodate his in-laws, or he'd abandon me. "I understand," I said softly. "And what if I say no? Then I guess we'll have to evaluate how much support you really need at your age. Living alone, managing a place this size, maybe it's too much for someone in their mid-60s. After we hung up, I sat on my brand new deck, watching the sunset bleed across the ocean in hues of orange and violet. The view should have been soothing, but all I could hear was the smug satisfaction in Brandon's voice. He truly believed he had me trapped. Just another helpless older woman who would crumble under emotional pressure. But what Brandon didn't grasp, "Oh, Eleanor," she said, not bothering to look up, "we'll need you to make a store run. Kevin's girlfriend can't have lactose, and Rachel's youngest is allergic to everything. I've made a list." She passed me a 3-page document written in the demanding script of a person used to giving orders. Items like organic coconut milk, the good kind, not the watery junk, and gluten-free bread that doesn't taste like styrofoams. Good luck? Were highlighted. The sheer assumption that I was now their personal shopper was a new peak, even for them. But instead of pushing back, I simply took the list and drove into town. They were clueless that I had errands of my own. My first stop was the hardware store for a few items that would come in handy later. Then, I paid a visit to the local telecom office to make some adjustments to my service plan. Finally, I had a very productive chat with my bank manager about new account security protocols. When I got back with their provisions, Melissa's clan had burrowed in even deeper. Kevin had reconfigured my living room furniture for a better TV angle, while Rachel's kids were using my art supplies to decorate the dining room walls. "Oh, great, you're back," Melissa said, making no move to help with the groceries. "We're throwing a big barbecue tomorrow night. Probably 30 people. Brandon's friends, some people we've met on the beach. You'll need to get steaks, burgers, hot dogs, and all the sides. I texted you the list. 30 people. In my home." "Without asking me," I said, my voice perfectly level. "That sounds like quite an event. It's going to be epic. We're finally going to put this place on the map. Brandon said you never entertained, so it's time this kitchen got some real use." I saw she had already begun clearing my personal effects from the main living areas. Family pictures, books, even my mother's antique vase were all being stashed away to suit their temporary decor. That evening, as they lounged on my deck chairs planning their party, I made another round of calls from the garage, this time to a few old business associates who owed me some very big favors. "Tom, it's Eleanor Sterling. I know I'm retired, but I need your help. How fast can your catering company mobilize for a last-minute event? 30 guests tomorrow night. Money is no object, but there's a catch." The next day was a whirlwind of activity as the family prepped for their grand affair. They had invited half the town, promising everyone premium food and top-shelf liquor, all on my dime. Patricia spent the morning critiquing my kitchen while simultaneously commandeering every inch of it. Around noon, I heard Brandon's voice in the driveway. He'd arrived with yet more guests, college buddies who had apparently been promised a free weekend at the family beach house. The nonchalant way he handed out my spare keys to total strangers was a particularly nice touch. "Mum!" he shouted when he saw me. "There you are! Hope you're ready for a real bash. We've got some influential people coming tonight. Great for networking. This house is a perfect asset for making connections. Influential people, here for his networking." The irony was exquisite. I spent the rest of the afternoon on my deck, reading a novel and watching their frantic preparations with the detached curiosity of a scientist, observing a colony of ants. They had completely overrun my sanctuary, turning it into party central without once asking for my permission. Around 500 p.m., I went upstairs to get ready. After all, I didn't want to miss their big night. They had no idea I had a few surprises of my own planned. By 600 p.m., my driveway looked like a luxury car lot, filled with the Mercedes, BMWs and Range Rovers of Brandon's important guests. From my window, I watched these strangers roam my garden, fix themselves drinks at my bar, and settle into my furniture as if they belonged here. Melissa had redecorated, creating a beach house chic vibe by repurposing my life's treasures, thousand. My grandmother's handmade quilts were now casual throws, and my professional awards had been hidden away for being too corporate. She had even moved my personal photos into a closet to avoid cluttering her aesthetic. The final straw was seeing Brandon give a tour, describing the house as the family property, and casually remarking that he was handling all management decisions now that I was getting on in years, at 64. I selected my outfit for the evening with care, a simple black dress that had seen me through more than one hostile takeover. If you're about to deliver world-shattering news, you may as well look the part. The party was in full swing when I descended. Brandon was holding court on the deck, spinning tales about acquiring the property and his vision for its future. Melissa glided between groups, playing the role of hostess with a confidence that was truly remarkable for someone who hadn't contributed a single cent to the mortgage. "Eleanor," Patricia called out, her voice laced with the condescension reserved for inconvenient relatives. "There you are, dear. Can you check on the appetizers? I think we're running low." Of course. Even here, I was the help. Instead, I walked to the middle of the deck, raising my voice just enough to command the room. "Excuse me, everyone. May I have your attention for just a moment?" The chatter slowly faded as 30 odd strangers turned to look at the woman they thought was just the live-in mother. "Thousand. I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight. It's truly wonderful to see so many new faces enjoying this magnificent home." Brandon beamed, thrilled his mother was finally playing her part. "But before we go on," I said, Pulling out my phone, I have a couple of quick announcements. Right on cue, a massive catering truck turned into my driveway. This wasn't some small time barbecue service. This was Tom Morrison's premium events company, complete with uniformed servers, a mobile gourmet kitchen, and enough gear for a black tie gala. What is that? Melissa asked, her perfect hostess smile wavering. Oh, that's dinner, I replied cheerfully. I figured since it was such a big party, we ought to do it properly. Prime rib, lobster tails, full champagne service, the works. Brandon's expression morphed from pleasure to confusion to outright alarm in about 10 seconds. He was clearly doing the math in his head. Mom, we already bought steaks. Don't you worry about those. We can use them some other time. I turned back to the crowd. The staff will be setting up, so if everyone could please give them a little room. Tom Morrison himself strode up, clipboard in hand. Ms. Sterling, where would you like the champagne station? The champagne station? Brandon's voice cracked. Right by the pool, Tom. And make sure everyone gets the good stuff. The Dom P.A. Rignan, not the house label. I felt the entire atmosphere shift. These guests recognized quality, and Dom P.A. Rignan was a world away from a backyard cookout. Tom's team moved with practiced efficiency, transforming my deck into an elegant dining space with linens, crystal, and silverware. In 30 minutes, their casual get-together had become a high-end affair with a price tag that dwarfed most monthly mortgage payments. Mom, Brandon hissed, pulling me aside. What is this going to cost? I gave him my sweetest smile. Don't worry, darling. It's all taken care of. I just didn't tell him how. For now, I was happy to watch 30 strangers enjoy a then 15th Zolozen dinner party, while my son slowly came to understand that he was not in charge. The morning after was a day of reckoning, almost worth the champagne headache. I found Brandon and Melissa at the dining table, huddled over their phones, frantically calling banks amidst the debris of the party. The empty Dom P.A. Rignan bottles stood like trophies on the counter, next to the catering invoice I had conveniently left on the island. $15,000, Melissa whispered, staring at the bill as if it were a venomous snake. For one party. Brandon was on his third call, trying and failing to get an emergency credit limit increase. It wasn't going well. Good morning, I said brightly, pouring myself a coffee. How is everyone feeling? Mom, we have to talk, Brandon said, his voice strained. About this bill. Oh, wasn't it a fabulous night? Everyone was raving about the lobster. We can't afford this. I tilted my head. That's odd. I was under the impression you were managing the property now. That's what you told everyone last night, wasn't it? The blood drained from his face as he processed the implication. If he had claimed public responsibility for the house, he was responsible for its debts. But Mom, I didn't mean. Oh, but you did, Valozen. A few people told me how impressed they were that a man your age was managing such a prime piece of real estate so professionally. I took a slow sip of coffee, savoring it. They were especially interested in your business model, leveraging family assets for networking. Just then, Patricia emerged from my master suite, wearing my bathrobe and holding my favorite mug. Eleanor, dear, we're out of clean towels. And the Wi-Fi is acting up. Could you call someone? The entitlement was still breathtaking. But before I could answer, my phone rang. Eleanor Sterling, this is Janet Morrison from Coastal Properties Real Estate. I'm calling about the listing for your beach house. Beach house listing? I put the call on speaker. I'm sorry, Ms. Morrison, I don't have a property for sale. That's strange. We got an inquiry yesterday from a Brandon Sterling. He said he was representing the owner and was authorized to handle all real estate decisions. The ensuing silence was so profound you could hear the waves crashing outside. Brandon's face went from pale to ghostly white, and Melissa stared at him as if he'd grown a second head. I see, I said calmly into the phone. Well, Mr. Sterling has no authority to represent this property. It's quite concerning that someone would be misrepresenting themselves like that. Should I file a report? Impersonating a property owner is a rather serious offense. Brandon was now wildly shaking his head, making frantic no gestures, but I ignored him. Let me consider my options and get back to you, Ms. Morrison. Thank you for the call. I hung up. The silence stretched until Patricia, oblivious, spoke up again. Eleanor, about those towels. Get out. The words were quiet but sharp as glass. Excuse me? I said get out. All of you. Pack your bags and leave my home. Brandon finally found his voice. Mom, you can't be serious. We're family. Family doesn't try to sell your house out from under you. Family doesn't run up the $15,000 bill they can't pay. And family sure as hell doesn't threaten you with a nursing home to get what they want. I walked to the front door and held it open. You have 2 hours. If you are not gone by then, I will be calling the police and Ms. Morrison to file those reports. What followed was not the organized departure of vacationers, but a chaotic scramble of blame, shifting and desperate pleas that would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. Patricia stormed out of my bedroom, muttering about ungrateful hosts. Kevin's girlfriend complained loudly about her ruined vacation. Thousands. Rachel's kids actually looked relieved to be leaving the family drama behind. But it was Brandon's reaction that was most telling. Instead of an apology, he doubled down. You're making a monumental mistake, Mom. I was building connections last night. Networks that could benefit our whole family. The whole family. I raised an eyebrow. You mean the one you threatened to abandon in a care facility? Melissa tried a different tactic, her voice dripping with fake sincerity. Eleanor, maybe we can work this out. We could share the house, split the expenses. Split the expenses. I nearly laughed. You mean like the 15 grand you can't pay? Or the groceries I bought for your family? Or the utility bills that have tripled since you all arrived? That's when Brandon played his trump card. Fine. But you'll regret this. You think you can manage this huge place all by yourself, at your age. What happens when you fall? You're going to need us, and we won't be there. The threat was meant to corner me with the fear of being old and alone. He thought he had finally won. He didn't realize he had just handed me the perfect opening for my final move. You know what, Brandon? I said, looking him straight in the eye. You're absolutely right. I can't possibly manage this house alone. It's far too much for one person. His face shifted into a smug, victorious grin. It's far too much for one person. His face shifted into a smug, victorious grin. So, I continued,